Hey, this is just going to be very brief. Um, Basically, it's a wrap up. So it's not going to actually be a lecture per se. Just want to talk to you a couple minutes about this whole 7 weeks. Gosh, it goes by so fast. Um, and hopefully, in way of a summary kind of thing, you get an idea. excuse me, of these therapies and the family involvement. I think you can see that there's a big difference between individual therapy and involvement of family when you do marriage and family counseling. Um, an individual counseling session may or may not take into consideration the dynamics of family. Can, depending on what the problem is, obviously, but by and large, it's not going to do that because it's what it says, individual counseling. I know that you've seen in our in your reading for you online folk and for you who are in my in class session, the dynamics, to use the word again, of involvement with family, particularly when we did our little scenarios. I hope you enjoyed those because it really brings to real life what goes on in those sessions. And I've told you a couple of times about my weirdest one with people who wouldn't even speak to one another. They wanted to text, and of course that got us nowhere. But that was a dynamic, right? So when you're counseling a person who is having family problems, then obviously it would be ridiculous not to include the family within that realm. And then look what happened. Okay, so in general, we're including the family. But look at all the different therapies that we've gone over now, starting with Milan, and that is the way you say that, by the way, I remembered, and winding up in this business of neuroscience, looking at eye movements, and just it runs the gamut. So the dynamic aspect of family function, and then what approach to this do I want to take dependent upon those dynamics and the problem in and of itself. One of the theories that I really like, and I hope you did, is this removal of yourself from the problem and discussing the problem and not yourself in terms of your involvement in it. In other words, making almost a third party out of it. So I think that's a very objective way, with some aspects of subjective, that help to promote a healing type approach to what it is that you're dealing with. So, if you didn't get anything else out of this semester, I hope you got the fact that counseling a family is not just a one shot, one type therapy affair. There are so many aspects to this. And there's more being developed every day. EMDR is basically, in the world of science, brand new, starting in the 90s. And what is it now, 34 years old? That's still a baby as far as therapy is concerned. It takes a while to get those kind of things established and work out the kinks, etc., so that you have a working process to use that's dependable and valid. You can come up with anything, and if it's not valid and it causes harm rather than good, then it's obviously worthless. So these theories that we've talked about, these therapies that we've talked about are very, very well proven. Some outdated, but Milan, for example, a little outdated, but still usable, dependent upon the behaviors, the attitudes of all the members of the family. And look at this last word, perceptions. Oh my goodness gracious. I beat that into all my classes. Perception, perception, perception. What is it? Your interpretation of what it is that's going on around you. Your interpretation, not Uncle Harry's or Aunt Hilda's or somebody. It's yours. You own it. It was given to you based on your experiences from birth to right now, wherever you are in your life. You learn these things. You become naturally comfortable with your perceptions. And for somebody to step in and say, oh, wait a minute, That's not right. You become resistant. And that's what we have to do in counseling. You have a person who knows there's a problem. We have to establish the understanding as to whether they're in the right or they're in the wrong. We don't sit there and point fingers. We manipulate, in essence. So, not manipulative in a negative way, but try to uh, smooth you into a different viewpoint if that's necessary. That may not be necessary. It may be necessary to help you understand that you may be right in whatever the problem is, but you have to take into account that there are other feelings, quote, emotions, unquote, involved. Hope that makes sense. All right. Hope you enjoy this semester.